Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about disaster management. But first of all, we should know what is disaster. Okay, disaster is a serious disruption of functioning of community or society involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses. Okay, disaster can be anything like earthquakes, tsunamis, or we can say cyclones, which causes losses to human life, material, economy, and environment. So, to overcome the harmful effects of these disasters, the government of India established NDMA, which is National Disaster Management Authority, on 23rd December 2005. The primary function of this NDMA is to lay down policies on disaster management. This NDMA issues policies to state governments, and this state governments then further work on district level so that the harmful effect or the damage caused by disaster can be reduced or the people can be awared. So today we have a program based on capacity building in disaster management. So let's start. So first of all, we should learn what is Disaster Management Act. It was established in 2005 by NDMA. The first point is paradigm shift. What is this paradigm shift? This is actually a shift in thinking and focus from a relief centric approach. Actually, we after the damage we are providing relief to the people. We have to think or we have to shift our focus from relief centric approach to more proactive, holistic and integrated approach so that this disaster can be managed properly, so that the severity of this disasters can be reduced. We have to build strategic partnerships at various levels. We should cooperate, we should work together. Then there is preparedness, pre-preparedness and capacity development. We should be pre-prepared or we should have capacity development programs so that all the people can be aware about these disasters. Consolidation of past initiative. Learn from the past, learn from the mistakes of past and learn from the loopholes, then rectify and develop a system or develop like after many cases there are various programs identified and there are various needs identified which government established like EOC, emergency operation culture, INCOS, which is Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, which provide information about various tides, etc. Identification, assessment, and monitoring disaster risks. Build disaster resilient structure. Develop architect or buildings in such a way that which are disaster resilient. Develop habitat in such a way that which have safer living. Then there is a disaster management cycle. For example, if a disaster impact is there or disaster is there, first of all we will have to give a response. Give a response in such a way that we should not get panicked. In that situation, we should be prepared, and then after giving a response, we should work on recovery. Recover, help others, help yourself. Then after the recovery, develop again. Then there is mitigation. Mitigation actually means to take actions for reducing the severity, seriousness or painfulness of disaster. Matlab take actions in such a way that we can reduce the seriousness of these disasters. Then again get pre-prepared that when next time this disaster happens, we have to act in this way. Then there is a disaster management approach. In this disaster management approach, we promote a culture of prevention in which we should work in such a way that we should prevent the damage caused by disaster. Multi-level, multi-sectoral and multi-discipline synergy, work together. Actually this synergy word means work together for better results. We should work at all different levels together so that we can get the better results. DM related skills to all stakeholders. DM related skills means we should provide disaster management skills to each and everyone. Top down and bottom up approach. What is this approach? Let's discuss below. First is at the top is pre-disaster. Pre-disaster means before any disaster, we should think about prevention, how we can prevent the damage caused. Then pre-preparedness, we should be pre-planned, pre-prepared about the disaster. Then there is mitigation. Mitigation again, work in such a way so that the harmful effect of disaster can be reduced. Then during the disaster we have to give a response. Post disaster includes rehabilitation. Rehabilitation means to put back in good conditions. We have to rehabilitate, means to put back into that good conditions, which is reconstruct and develop again. What is this existing scenario going on? There is frequency and intensity of disasters and impact. There is a frequency means there are a large number of disasters happening in our country which have a increased risk of life. There is poverty, population density and growth increasing day by day. Urbanization and migration is there. More habitations are there in disaster prone areas. Many people are living in that areas which are disaster prone. We should think about post disaster approach, ad hoc basis, relief oriented. But from relief oriented, as I said, we should shift this relief oriented approach to more proactive holistic approach. Then resource allocated for immediate and post disaster activities. We should think about the resources after the disaster. There is a lack of education, awareness and capacity at all levels. We don't take these things seriously because here very few disasters are taking place. Like earthquakes are not frequent, but we should be pre-prepared. It can happen anytime. Like we are living in this Punjab region, and this is the region, if earthquake happens in this region, it will cause much more damage. And these things we don't know. We can't predict the nature, but we should be prepared that if this happens, that how we have to act. We have to think about multi-disaster approach, not about a single disaster approach. We have to think in different ways how we can work together. Lack of preparation is there. We should be pre-prepared. We should prepare plan at school level, at state level, at district levels. Lack of capacity building programs is there. Lack of people, lack of departments is there about this management, this disaster. There is lack of early warning systems which can give the warnings to people much prior than the damage. New training and other requirements identified after the few tragedies. Like first of all, there is Kumbakonam school tragedy happened in 2004, and the requirement identified was training and awareness. There is lack of training and awareness. SDMP is School Disaster Management Plan. Each and every school must have disaster management plan. Tsunami impact happened in 2004, and the requirements identified is CRZ, coastal regulation zones. It means there must be a particular zones around the ocean where the public should not be allowed during the time of cyclones. INCOIS actually means Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, which provide information about the tides, high tide, low tide. Then happened Thane cyclone 2011, and there is a gap analysis, power and communication failure, EOCs. EOC is actually Emergency Operation Center, which work in case of emergency. Chennai flood happened in 2015-16, and there is lack of training, lack of awareness. There is no preparation, pre-preparation, which causes much more damage. We should practice multi-disaster construction practices. Construct buildings, engineer buildings, architect them in such a way that there is less damage in case of disaster. There is lack of infusion, latest technology, right? Remote sensing management, data management. These are the few requirements identified after the particular disasters. Then what is the scope of this disaster management training programs? Scope. First is hazard specific. It is hazard specific, natural and man-made training. Proper training should be given for natural as well as man-made disasters, like if in case of gas tragedies, in case of earthquakes, in case of cyclones, how we have to act. Multi-sector, multi-level preparedness and prevention. Matlab, preparedness and prevention at all levels. Emergency first responders, prepare emergency first responders, which should be well trained because they have to act in case of emergency. Community based disaster risk management and risk reduction. We should plan at community level also. Multi disaster construction practices. Buildings should be planned in such a way, constructed in such a way that they are damage or disaster resilient. Need based disaster management training should be given to each and everyone. Sector specific disaster management plans should be prepared. Awareness, sensitization, and capacity building training programs should be provided at each and every level. The functional areas are training and capacity building. How we can function, how we can act, we can train, we can have capacity building, we can research and guide. We must practice evacuation drill. This evacuation drill must be practiced in each and every school, almost twice in a year, so that children should know that in case of any disaster or in case of any emergency, what kind of bell rings in the school, where we have to run, in which direction, from which stairs, and where we have to evacuate. We have to move to ground or we have to move to main gate, where we have to move. This evacuation drills must be practiced in each and every school. There should be policies, advocacy, and expertise to government and departments. Preparation of these disaster management plans, manuals, guidelines, etc. Emergency contact numbers of each and every people must be easily accessible. Linkage with training, academic research, and other institution. It should be linked, means disaster management training program must be given to each and every level. Development of training modules and curriculums. Prepare curriculum modules, training modules for this disaster management. Now there are different types, levels, and methods of disaster management trainings. First is type of trainings. First is induction. There are different types of training. Actually, in this picture, there is a plan mentioned, which is evacuation plan, in which proper direction is given that in which class must move to which floor or which direction. This evacuation plan should be available or it must be pasted at every floor of the school. So there are different types of training given, which is induction based, refreshment, skill up upgradation, orientation based, drills and evacuation plan. These drills and evacuation plan must be practiced. NDMA is a National Disaster Management Authority established by the central government, which has a committee of 9 members, which instruct the state government. State government further instruct the district and field levels, and it should be instructed to each and every school, whether the school is in disaster prone areas or not, but we should be pre-prepared. Then the methods of trainings are various methods like PPT presentation, discussion, movie clip, role plays. We can train students, teachers, and every citizen by various techniques, but we can practice mock drills in our school also. There are various other programs also there. E-learning courses are available on net about disaster management. There is a capacity building programs for stakeholders, deputation of officers. There should be proper officers or trained persons which can train the students and the teachers, or we can train the other peoples that how we have to act in case of emergency. Okay, so these are the various methods in which we can train other, but our main aim is to overcome the harmful effect of disaster. So we have to shift our focus from relief centric approach to more proactive holistic approach, so that we can take the action to reduce the damage, or we can take action to reduce the seriousness or painfulness of a disaster. For that we have to work together, so that we can obtain the better results, such that we can get back in good conditions earlier. Like in many countries you have seen that in case of disaster happens, they recover very soon because these people are pre-planned. Like in Japan, there are few areas where earthquake happens more frequently. They are already pre-planned, and they develop, they rehabilitate again back very early in good conditions. So we should be pre-prepared about these disasters, because it can happen anytime, it can't be predicted. Okay, thank you so much.